The Challenge is a heartwarming story about a valuable lesson taught to me by my beloved Grandpa James. The lesson was to never give up, even when faced with the toughest obstacles. Join me on this empowering journey, and let's unlock the limitless potential within ourselves. The Challenge by Dr. Gia Clinton. Translated and illustrated by J.T. Wilkinson. The Book of Grandpa James, The Challenge. When I was just a little girl, my Grandpa James taught me so many wonderful things. He was the smartest person I knew, and he always made learning fun. I remember when I was 3 years old, and he taught me how to read, as well as introduced me to the game of chess. It was like a whole new world opened up to me, and I couldn't wait to discover more. On my 4th birthday, Grandpa James surprised me with a big book of poems. He knew how much I loved words and stories, and he wanted to share the beauty of poetry with me. He made it even more exciting by offering me a special reward. For every poem I memorized, he would pay me 50 cents. I was thrilled by the thought of earning money while exploring the wonderful world of poetry. Every day, Grandpa James and I would sit down together and choose a poem from the book. He would read it to me, and I would listen carefully, trying to absorb every word. Then we would go over it again and again, repeating the lines, and I loved every moment of it. Most of the time, I could easily memorize the poems and earn my 50 cents. But one day, Grandpa James decided to give me a challenge. He picked a poem that seemed incredibly hard, with long lines and unfamiliar words. I was overwhelmed and doubted my abilities. I told Grandpa James that I couldn't do it, that it was too difficult. And for the first time ever, I heard Grandpa James raise his voice. He told me to leave and not come back until I had learned that poem. I was devastated. I sat on the steps, tears streaming down my face, clutching the book. I felt like I had disappointed Grandpa James, and it hurt more than anything. But then my mother came and sat beside me. She wiped away my tears and told me that she believed in me. She took the book from my hands and made me read the poem to her over and over again. Each time she encouraged me to try harder, to believe in myself. In my surprise, I started to remember the lines. My mother's faith in me ignited a spark within, and I knew I could do it. At first I was nervous, but with every line I became more confident. When I was finished, my mother looked at me with pride and said, "Now go, show Grandpa James what you can do." With determination, I walked up to Grandpa James's door and knocked. He opened it, and without saying a word, I handed him the book of poems. The Swing by Robert Louis Stevenson. How would you like to go up in a swing, up in the air so blue? Oh, I do think it's the pleasantest thing ever a child can do. Up in the air and over the wall so I can see so wide, rivers and trees and cattle and all, over the countryside, till I look down on the garden green, down on the roof so brown. Up in the air I go flying again, up in the air and down. As the words filled the air, I looked up at Grandpa James. His eyes were filled with tears, and he handed me $2 from his wallet. He picked me up in his strong arms and hugged me tightly. He told me 3 important things that I should always remember. First, he said, never, ever say to yourself that you can't do it. Always believe in yourself. Then he said, for every person who tells you no, there will be 10 people lined up to say yes to you. And finally, he whispered, remember, Grandpa James loves you very, very much, and I am so proud of you. I rested my head on his shoulders, feeling loved and proud, and I told him, I love you too, Grandpa James. In that moment, I realized that even when things seemed impossible, with support and belief of loved ones, I could achieve anything. The end.
If you like this story, I'm sure you'll like others on this channel. Subscribe, like, share, and hit the bell to receive the latest notifications to all the latest stories from P.A.G.E.S. Great children entertainment for free.
It's the genius.